Dear friends, members of the Genexus community, welcome to the launching of the Genexus 18 version. We will be telling you a bit about what we've been working on, what's coming up with Genexus 18, what it means to each member of the Genexus community. But before we delve into that, I just wanted to tell you a bit about one of the most important changes that Genexus has been through in the last couple of years, which has been the acquisition of Genexus by Globant. For me, as company CEO, the most important mission of a CEO is to think about the long term, to think about the future of the organization in the long run. But you can't really be thinking all day long about the future, right? You can't just get to the office and say, well, I'm thinking about the long term and just like stare at the ceiling, trying to see what's going to lie ahead of us. It doesn't work like that. What does happen is that when you think about the long term, you just always have in your mind a number of opportunities and threats. And at a certain point, when some of these pieces fit together, that long-term vision that you have means that you need to make some decisions to try to ensure that that's going to happen. And for us, for Briogan and for me, from day one, we've always been long-term thinkers. And we always had one main goal. Our goal was not to build a company to sell it. It was not the typical case that you can find out there, but always our mission has been to build a long-term technology that will help the way in which we develop applications around the world. That is our main goal. It was like that from day one, and it remains so. But the things that, how do you do in each step? How do you get the most of the opportunities that you have? Or how do you move around the threats that you may be facing? The most important opportunities that we felt with Briogan that we had, and we had talked a lot about that since 2019 and 2020, is that we had a product that was extremely powerful to build applications around the world with a very high quality that could have very sophisticated UIs and UXs that would be secure and scalable. And as a matter of fact, because of all the things that happened in 2020 and 2021, in a way, we had to show that power to the world, all the power and the things that we can do with Genexus. So the question that we were always asking ourselves with Briogan is, okay, but how can we grow beyond our current growth? So apart from the organic growth that we are having in the company, which makes us very happy, we thought to ourselves, but don't we have a way of growing at a faster speed? Can't we just do something to grow even faster given the technology that we have built? So that was the opportunity that we were looking for. And at the same time, you always have threats. So how can you safeguard the future of the company in the long term? How can you make sure that this technology that we have built so far will also have a future in the long run? How can you do both things? And as I was telling you, over the last couple of years, 2020, 2021, we had a series of conversations. We had a lot of people that outside the Genexus community began to say, but these people, they have this technology. They are looking very interesting. We could use that somehow. And so we started having a couple of conversations from a strategic and corporate point of view of what we could do and what the future of the company would be like. And amongst those conversations, we had a number of meetings with founders at Globant, which I'm honored to know firsthand, at least 3 of them. And I know them really well. And one of them, Mr. Globant, is going to be here, but also Martin Umar and Martin Igoja. We've been having a lot of discussions. And even before we talked about technology, we talked about some of them moved to Uruguay and we helped them through the process. So it means that we built a really nice rapport and an environment of friendship and trust with the founders at Globant, and also a very clear communication environment. We're all engineers. We have a way of communicating that is quite straightforward. And for us, throughout the process, after the acquisition, when the formal part of it came along, before we exchanged any sort of financial information, what we discussed mainly was technology. We talked about It was an engineer to engineer kind of conversation, talking about the opportunities and where we could go to. So when we felt with Briogan that we had reached this stage of trust with these people, and that a company the likes of Globant would allow us to actually have that opportunity that we were looking for, that chance of having that growth that went beyond our organic growth, then we made that decision, which is the second most important decision of our lives. The first important decision that we made from a corporate point of view was to create the company. The second most important decision in our lives was how to change the future of the company. And we decided to go with Globant. And for that, what we want is, first and foremost, to ensure that the product has a future. And this association with Globant, this partnership, is giving Genexus a long-term future. Secondly, that our technology will grow beyond the growth that it has at the moment organically. Considering the size that Globant has and their clients, we already have access to much bigger accounts in geographies and locations that we were not present yet. And that is opening up doors to a new world. So we're extremely happy. We think that it's a beautiful opportunity for all the Genexus community, that the world can adopt Genexus more and more and at a faster growth rate, which is allowing us to create a much bigger Genexus community and the access to all our partners and all the people that helped us to create Genexus until today, which is being boosted by this decision, which means that we will grow even faster and get many more things, and we will therefore transform the way in which we build software. That is what we believe deeply in. This is our vision, and this is the reason why we made that decision with Briogan. But this is why Genexus chose Globant. But about why Globant chose Genexus, I would like to invite one of Globant founders, and he will be telling us a bit about technology, but also, finances. So Gilbert, the floor is yours. The floor is yours. How are you, Gilbert? Where are you from at the moment in the world? Well, right now I'm in the Globant offices in Madrid. Cool. Great. I love your t-shirt, by the way. Well, it was given to me by the Genexus team. So yeah, here I am wearing it proudly. Thank you so much for that, man. Welcome to the launch of Genexus 18. I was talking to the Genexus community about the importance of this and why Genexus chose Globant, but I wanted to talk about why Globant chose Genexus with you. But before we delve into the question, what I just wanted to ask you a bit about Globant. What is Globant nowadays? Well, Globant is a company that helps other companies to be successful in a digital transformation process, which is always very challenging. And that plays a key role in the future of any organization. Over the last almost 20 years of having created Globant, we became one of the main companies in the world in the sector, and we have grown from 4 people in the bar to a company of 26,000 Globers around the world. So we have really important clients around the world. Yeah, I loved it when you said that it was an unlikely company. It shouldn't have existed, quoting you. Well, maybe like Genexus, why not? This thing of like having the chance to create a cutting edge technology in the South Cone was unlikely a couple of years ago, but we were showing to the world that we can do it, and the world sees Globant as a leader in technology at top level. And so the idea with Genexus is precisely that Genexus will be the leading platform in their segment. Amazing, amazing. Yeah, it's good to unite efforts. Okay, tell us a bit about Globant X. Okay, Globant X is an initiative. For quite a long time, we've been learning a lot about the business of transforming. A lot of people associate digital transformation to making technology. And that process, if I may, when you see it in full depth, I think that transformation is about being digital, not doing digital things. when you are digital, you begin to adopt different ways and uses and habits in the organization that allow you to execute a digital project once, twice, three times, and iterate that so that you can have a sort of adaptability in your organization. And as part of this growth process, we have learned a lot about the effort, the unnecessary effort that sometimes you put in when you have to program or test or even try to understand and develop software. So what we have done for quite a long time is we've been investing in AI so that we can code better, we can understand code better, and even test it better and much faster. So at Globant, what we do is we generate technology that will allow our clients to speed up their processes to digital transformation and also to adopt a culture that will be digital and very appealing, so that people will want to be a part of it and find a vibrant environment in the organization to have a lifestyle that implies that companies need to attract talent. They need to have a loyal team, and we need to generate much more dynamic environments than we used to have before. So at Globant, what we are looking for is to generate these tools that will make it easier for our clients to go through that transformation process. And it was only natural that Genexus would become part of our portfolio at Globant because it allows us to accelerate substantially the time to market. It allows us to do things with much less effort, and perhaps most importantly, as this t-shirt says, it allows us to ensure that our clients, when they develop an application, will generate code that will remain young throughout its life and for many years. If we think about the history of Genexus over the last couple of years, the last 30 years, Genexus has been through the definition of a solution to a problem. Genexus has generated code in a number of different platforms, and many clients, after a couple of years of having developed software, they need to migrate. A couple of months ago, I was talking to a very important client that needed to migrate 100 applications. And I told him, listen, the bad news that we have is that in a couple of years, you're going to have to migrate again, because those things that are making you make that decision today are related to the fact that our developers don't want to work with a certain technology. And what if I could promise you eternal youth for your code? That means to make sure that whatever you define today in Genexus can be in a certain platform or technology stack today. And in a couple of years, Genexus will also allow you to migrate to other tech stacks that will be trendy in that moment. So, well, honestly, I think it's very interesting because of that, having this chance to work with Genexus. Thank you so much. I have a question to you. You're exposed to some great customers and great problems. What are you seeing today? What are you being asked? The word acceleration, is something that you said that stuck with me. But what do you get from your clients, Gibbert? Well, clearly you need to be much more pragmatic. I think that perhaps the first wave of transformation, of digital transformation, was okay. I'm gonna. Apparently, every company needs to be a software company, so I need to have developers, and I'm gonna start to build my own software company inside a different company that dedicates to a different business. And truth be told, it's quite difficult for a company that does one business well will also be good at software development. That has been, I think, the main challenge. So nowadays, as part of that process, our clients are looking to have partners that will allow them to accelerate times. We're no longer talking about, okay, I need these many developers, but rather I need to overcome this issue. So we are much more pragmatic in a way in that conversation with the clients. And the other thing that is really important is time to market. That means to do things for yesterday, to be much faster. And honestly, I think that time is the only thing that you can't get back. So Genexus, in a way, is playing that role of being a time machine. It's allowing our clients to buy time, which otherwise they wouldn't be able to buy. Because it allows us to do things much faster than with other kinds of technologies, and the result is much more robust, much safer, uh, in a time in which security and information is so important, right? Gilbert, thank you so much. I love hearing this from you. We've always had a beautiful technical relationship. That sort of connection that we have is quite awesome. And that's probably the main reason why Genexus picked Globant. And I also understand that Globant picked Genexus. So thanks a lot. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next event, but hopefully in person. Thanks. Thanks a lot. And I'd like to tell you that I'm really excited about this launch of Genexus 18. I think we have two main factors that will be super interesting. One is about this thing of how you distribute services to users. We're already sick of installing applications. It's really difficult to get there in that way. So I think that the possibility of building super apps that will have mini apps through a low-code tool like Genexus really will make us stand out. It's the first platform that will allow us to develop mini apps and just insert them in a high traffic application. And this is going to revolutionize the way in which we consume functionalities. This is going to be very contextualized. Timing is perfect. You can just open an application and say, well, it's got the feature that I need when I need it without having to install applications. So it's basically a Netflix of applications. You can just stream an application directly in the device without having installed it. Another thing that I believe is quite important is the work done between developers and designers. The possibility of having design with popular design tools and interfaces directly in Genexus. That's going to definitely speed up the creation of applications that will be very user-friendly, and you're going to have even shorter development processes. Thank you so much, Gilbert. I'm just as excited as you are with all these super apps thing and designers aspect. So Armin Bachmann is going to be telling us a bit more about that. Thank you so much, Gilbert. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Nico. A pleasure. To just move on with the keynote, I wanted to introduce you to Gisela Bertelli. She is a CPO at Genexus.
Thank you, Nicolas. Nicolas and Guibert were telling us about the decision to join the Globant family. And I want to tell you why this decision is important for our community. And to do that, I want to focus on three main pillars. The first one is opportunities, the second one is talent, and the third one is positioning and recognition. Now, let me go back to the beginning. With regards to opportunities, in the last 5 months, we created about 100 opportunities together with Globant. But beyond those opportunities generated, the most important thing is that we were able to present our technology to big companies in many parts of the world, mainly in the United States, but also in Latin America and MA. This will surely bring more companies to the Genexus community. Also, in connection to opportunities, we have territorial expansion. It is important for us to reach new markets, and in the last year, we brought to the Genexus community 3 new markets: Switzerland, Vietnam, and Pakistan. But we did not only bring these 3 markets to the Genexus community, but we also ratified our presence in multiple markets with the over 50 offices that we have across the world. So both new opportunities and growth and territorial expansion will bring in the short term a growth to our community. Now let's move to the second topic of talents, because in order for us to take advantage of opportunities, we need to have qualified people in the market. In the past 5 years, we have trained about 2,600 Globers in the Glober University in different levels and in different markets. So we have over 2,600 people trained in Genexus. Normally, in a standard Genexus year, we directly train about 1,000 people. But in 5 months, we barely tripled the number of people we had trained. And for the remainder of the year, we will continue training 600 designers so that they might be ready to develop the apps that we need. When we talk about talent, that talent is also important to help our clients build critical mission apps. And I want to talk about two Japan cases. The first one is Mitsubishi Electric Corporation, which is the main manufacturer of satellite components, and they have created a company called Kamakura Works that is fully devoted to the creation of solar panels, structural panels, and antennas. They decided to develop their own systems internally in order to be able to customize their products. This was good for them because systems are fully customized to the needs of the industry. But on the other hand, they were not able to evolve and keep their legacy systems. So, with this challenge in mind, they started assessing multiple low code platforms and they decided to work on Genexus because they were able to have a local ID. They were able to develop apps in multiple platforms, languages, and using multiple databases. The deciding factor here was the use of Genexus based on developers, whereas other low code products are based on the number of apps generated or users. After 2 years with them, they were able to create 7 critical mission systems and they were able to reduce the development time by 50% in comparison to traditional development. The second case also comes from Japan and is the case of Resona Bank, which is the fifth most important bank in Japan, and they want to become the main bank in Japan in the next few years. So, in the past years, they have been innovating in order to reorganize their community to face new challenges. And they want to redesign their offices, improve their profits and processes. But they know that in order to carry out this re-engineering, they need to rebuild those customer service systems that they have. So Risona had to rewrite their user attention services every 10 years, and they had to invest about $70 million for that. But the new customer service system built on Genexus was created in only 7 months, which reduced the time for replacement by half. By using Genexus, Risona was able to reduce development times and mostly build a critical mission app that was fully future proof. So, both cases, both Risona and Mitsubishi, share the need to develop in record times critical mission applications with a high quality. Now, let me go back to the third point that I mentioned today, connected to positioning and recognition. The work conducted with clients such as Mitsubishi and Resona allowed us to attain recognition from the main consultancy services in the market. Gartner qualified us as visionaries and Quadrant Solutions as leaders, and we are very proud to have obtained those two recognitions. We definitely believe that all clients need to accelerate their development times to reach the market more quickly. And at the same time, of course, they need to be mindful of quality. So we're convinced that the opportunities that we are generated together with the talents that we are building will allow for our community to make the best out of Genexus. And in order for us to build these high quality apps in record times, we need to understand what is the technology available in Genexus. And for that, I want to bring Gaston Milano to the table.
Okay, thank you, Gisela. She was showing us some of the things that we feel most proud of, which is when Genexus users or Genexus customers build systems which are mission critical. So, systems that are in line with our vision and our mission. So, what is Genexus' purpose with which we've been working for more than 30 years? It is to create and maintain mission critical systems in an automatic way. Something that perhaps nowadays could be seen as utopia, but we've been doing that. And I think that it is a time in which Genexus is stronger than ever before from the technology point of view, because these systems that Gisela was showing you are just a few examples. Over the last couple of years, we have built thousands of systems that we have not only created but also evolved with our technology. And what is underlying all this? We have that thing that Nicholas and Briogan said some time ago, which was how to simplify software development. That is Genexus. How can we delete the accidental complexity when it comes to building systems? And not only creating and maintaining current systems, but that great challenge, which is what happens in the future with these systems. And that decision of delivering not only code but also knowledge is what makes it possible for that promise that Gilbert was mentioning today. And he was telling one of his clients that he was going to have eternal youth in his code, that promise can actually be maintained and kept. And that is something that we've been working on for quite a while. And today that is doable. So clients that have started with the technologies from 20 years ago nowadays have their systems updated to the latest technologies. And we can say that we are in a category where we call it low code. In particular, we like talking about the fact that Genexus is framed within the enterprise low code category. And we don't just accelerate the code creation process, we accelerate the building process of mission critical systems. There is a great difference between simply generating code versus creating a mission critical application. So, what are, according to us, the main challenges that we're facing in the systems building world? And what are those things that we believe make Genexus so strong? Some of these challenges are what you can see on the slide. We have challenges of all sorts. We have challenges related to experience, how to build experiences in different devices with different forms of inputting information to those devices. Then, on the other end of the spectrum, you have challenges related to data storage of those systems generated by people and IoT devices, for instance. So you have other kinds of challenges around security, which are extremely important nowadays, and also challenges from the architecture point of view in terms of how we're going to be able to deploy our systems so that we can meet the experiences that the business is requiring. And as if that were not enough, we also have challenges in terms of how to create code, how to interoperate between the different persons involved in the composition of a system. So I would like to touch on some of these things that we've been working on for the last couple of years. And the first thing that I believe is that from the point of view of systems is important to mention is that everything starts with experiences. It is extremely relevant what happens with experiences in our systems. And that's what's going to make the difference of whether or not a software system is successful. So much so that in the last couple of years, we've been strongly working on the incorporation of different kinds of roles to software development. A couple of years ago, perhaps, not that many years ago, software was built by engineers. Software was built by programmers. Well, nowadays we believe that software is or must be built by a group of people with different roles and profiles. In particular, we have been working strongly, and we will keep on doing so, with designers. Designers, not only visual designers that you could say, well, they make things look nice, because that is not the role of visual designers. We're talking about designers, like visual designers, but also interaction designers, those that design those interactions that at the end of the day make a system successful. We have been working a lot on that. And yet another element that we've been working on, and we mentioned a couple of years ago, was super apps. That was born somewhere in the middle between web applications and native applications. So we find it difficult to install native applications. We find it difficult to move around web applications. And we have this thing that was born in between that is called super applications. So some apps where you're going to have all the services that you need available within that very same application. Those services that are solved inside that super app are called mini apps. These are interfaces, these are composable UIs that can make a whole in my system. This allows me not only to create and build new platforms through super apps, but also it allows me to have incremental development for a software solution, for an application, a native application, for instance. So we've been working a lot in this sense, and luckily nowadays the market, and according to Gartner, it is one of the most important trends at the moment. Super apps is something that you will find in the hype cycle of Gartner nowadays. So what we will be doing is delivering the work that we have been doing for the last couple of years. And the challenges that we're going to have in the sense of experiences is that we will keep on having new interactions. Some people may be talking about extended experiences or augmented reality or virtual reality. Uh, we will certainly go down the road of integrating that sort of experience to the systems that we are building nowadays in the different industries. So these user experiences that we need to build that are not just screens, some experiences are invisible. We need to build them because that is what our systems need in order to be successful. But what is underlying all these experiences that is needed to build them? Well, normally you need to write code. The industry faces the challenge that to make all these experiences, whether native or mobile, or after that integrating to super apps that may emerge or a chatbot, they need to write code. Different kinds of code for the different programs, but not only for programs, also for data, for configuration, and for infrastructure where all our applications are going to run. So today with code, you can, if I may, write a whole software system. Therefore, if you speed up and change the time that takes you to create that code, you will be in a very favorable position in the market. And that is one of our main goals. Not just generating perhaps programs or the structures for a database as it was in the past. Nowadays, we're in a position where we feel that we will be able to generate from end to end programs, configurations, data, and infrastructure as needed. And we will also be able to generate automatically all the processes with which we will be deploying our applications. And this code, where should it be running, to say so? Where does it have to compute? In what Forrester or Gartner call hyperscalers. These are basically in the cloud. So probably systems are going to migrate from on-premises to hybrid, and many of the systems that we will have to build in the not so distant future, and this is the case today, is going to be on these hyperscalers or in the cloud, because not only is it about us codifying software, but increasingly the challenge is going to be about how we make up software, how we take different services, we compose them and make our systems. Perhaps in not too many years, we will be talking about coding less and compounding more services. And these great service suppliers, AI or IoT suppliers, infrastructure suppliers, we will have concepts that will get closer to the different industries and services close to different industries. And systems will be built as a compound of systems and not so much as a coding itself. But if I may, one of the main challenges that software engineering has been going through since its early beginning is that unlike other industries, when we deliver our products, when we deliver software to a customer, it is very difficult sometimes to give it a runtime quality. Gilbert was also saying previously that it's not just about the fact that we can create systems with Genexus, but we can create more robust, scalable systems, systems that have better performance, systems that will also offer greater security, that have a different observability at a different level. Because of what I was telling you before, if software is more and more about compounding services from different providers, then we will need mechanisms that will allow us to observe what is happening to our data, mechanisms that will allow us to observe what is happening to our experiences, as I mentioned before. And we will also need to develop quality software and care about our carbon footprint, that is going to result from our software. It's not just the challenge of creating and maintaining those systems, but also knowing that we will be delivering a system that is high quality in all these requirements, in all these non-functional aspects. So these are the greatest challenges that we are facing at the moment in terms of software building. And we believe that with Genexus, we are really strong in the sense of how we can generate automatically and ensure that our code will run in the cloud while ensuring quality. How do we see the future of system creation? Because that is what we have to do. That is what the industry is requiring from us. If we dig a little deeper, nowadays we are introducing you to Genexus 18 and we wonder, what's the future of system creation? Not program creation, but system creation. What we do every day at Genexus is we ask ourselves perhaps the same questions that Nicolas and Briogan were asking themselves at the very beginning. How should we create and evolve systems, deleting accidental complexities? How do people, not just programmers, but business people, designers, that design experiences and interactions, visual designers, how can these people add knowledge to my system? And at the same time, how can we accelerate once you discover how to do that? How can you accelerate that process to have more information? We are convinced that when we deliver systems, we don't need to deliver code. When we deliver a system, we need to deliver knowledge. Because otherwise, that promise that we were referring to at the beginning of the keynote of having eternal youth for our code will be impossible to keep. We keep on believing that knowledge needs to be at the very center, and we need to capture more and more knowledge. As I was telling you before, in this version that we will be releasing, we have begun to capture knowledge from designers, not by bringing them to the world of Genexus, but going to their world and bringing from different tools knowledge that is applied to the Genexus world. But we need to keep on making progress in terms of how to capture requirements, processes, APIs, the different ways to integrate information and knowledge that have the different roles that will be involved in system creation. And doubtlessly, a catalyzer for all this is going to be artificial intelligence. AI in all of its colors, symbolic AI, statistical AI, together to accelerate the incorporation process of elements to our model. Elements such as the foundational models of AI that you can see today, that, for example, speed up manual coding. This might as well be adjusted to Genexus. They could be adjusted to incorporate knowledge in Genexus. And this is going to be something that we will be discussing in the next couple of years. But today, what we are presenting is Genexus 18. Genexus 18 is one step in that direction. One step towards the automatic creation thanks to the simplification based on knowledge. And now I'm going to invite Armin Bachmann, product manager at Genexus, for him to tell us a bit about the pillars of Genexus 18. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gaston. Dear friends, this Genexus 18 that we are launching here today is a product of observations and experiences, as Gaston was mentioning, of more than 30 years of experience. And within that context, it proposes something extremely challenging, to build something that is getting more complex in a simpler, faster way, and even so, while being future-proof. So, to tell you a bit about how we're building with Genexus 18, let me walk you through its main pillars. First, when we build a system, we are facing a big challenge. A challenge about UX, about achieving a consistent experience for all our users, for all the different actors involved in the solution process, from the user to the client, from collaborators to providers. All these people will be using our solution in different ways. Some will be using mobile applications, others web applications. Some will be having access to chatbots, others will be following processes in an inbox, others with different sorts of modifications, and others may be adjusting security screens. So building solutions like this and consistently represents a big challenge that we cannot face by ourselves in the development team. We need, as Gaston was saying, to have a designers team and people who are experts in UX. Designing those experiences is important. And then the challenge will revolve around how to incorporate these designs in order to implement it in a way that is truthful to that design. With Genexus 18, we have solved this process automatically. We have tools to import those designs, whether they come from Sketch or Figma, to Genexus. Once they are imported, we can generate the solution in a way that is truthful to the original design. This reduces by 90% the time that it would require you to have a UI that is truthful to the original design. But achieving this is a challenge, as I was telling you, that it involves the knowledge base that we have at Genexus. You need to have that design clear in your knowledge base so that from there you can generate code. That is something that the new object in Genexus, which is called Design System Object, allows you to do, which has a specific language for modeling design systems. Based on this object, I can generate for multiple languages in multiple platforms. It is key for a comprehensive global experience. But in Genexus, you will not only have design systems, you will also have all the different resources that you're using and other artifacts and objects that will help us to replicate and extend and customize this experience, also in other environments. As a matter of fact, you don't always have to start from scratch. You don't always need to create the whole system again. Sometimes you will be in a place where perhaps you can reuse previous designs and you can adapt them to this new reality. If the design system is flexible enough and it allows you to do this, you will be able to do it. Specifically in Genexus 18, we are including a new design system called Unanimo. Unanimo is a flexible, customizable design system that comes with Genexus, and we think it's going to be at the foundation of most of your developments. With this Unanimo version and with Genexus 18, you will be able to have a consistent experience throughout all the different devices and the experiences that I was telling you earlier today. But not only do we have to model well to achieve these results, we also need to be generating code with the latest technologies available that will allow us to have those modern designs that we get from the design team. And that is why with Genexus, we're generating for the latest technology in the different stages. So with Genexus 18, you can deliver exceptional experiences really fast. Now, these experiences sometimes require a system that will support them. And this is where you may ask yourselves, what does that solution that you're going to build actually need? How many users does it have to support? The millions of users that it has to support. Is it something that happens throughout the year or just in a few peaks throughout the year? And that is going to give us some ideas of the scalability that the system will require and also its flexibility. The products that you're going to build, how many modules is it going to have, for instance? Does it need to be modularized? What is the architecture that you need to include in each of these modules? These questions is a key aspect because these are input details that will allow you to model the system more appropriately. And for that, in Genexus 18, you will be able to build the different architectures that you may need for today and for tomorrow, and have those architectures evolve. And we have the support of the different leading cloud suppliers so that you can have your applications scaling up in whatever way you need. More specifically, and for them to have infinite scalability, in Genexus 18 we support serverless computing, both on Azure and on Amazon Web Services. So for instance, you can develop and deploy functions that work as services that will be awakened through different messages. You can even work with non-relational databases that have infinite scalability. So these systems resemble more and more those systems that Briogan envisioned some 20 years ago when he was talking to us and telling us about self-managed decoupled systems where each of these modules is communicating with each other through messages. But let's not fall in the trap of believing that we just need to develop for one of these clouds. If we were doing this manually, we would get easily caught in one of the clouds. But many of you need to have leeway and freedom to choose whichever cloud you may need at different times. And that is why Genexus generates code for the different clouds that are available and deploys the solution generated in the different clouds, even though you're modeling just once. And this is done by generating to the latest technologies, both in Java and .NET, while at the same time taking care of security and privacy. And this is a big challenge nowadays because our systems are getting more and more complex, have more components, and you need to be careful with security and privacy both in the back end and the front end in each component. And building this manually is extremely complex. So with Genexus 18, we are taking care of security. We have an integrated module that supports connectivity and the configuration with the different leading identity providers around the world, which allows your users not to have to remember passwords. So we will be supporting multiple authentication factors. And we make sure that the solution as a whole will be secure, following the different guidelines by the OWASP. So with Genexus 18, you're going to deliver modern, secure, highly scalable solutions, and all of this is going to be leveraged by the cloud. Now, we know what systems we want to build, but we haven't talked about which processes we're going to use to build that system. How often do you need to deploy the system? Will I be deploying that with a team, or do I need several teams? Depending on how often you release that, you may be wanting to have some time to make a deployment manually, or do I have to automate every single of these processes? Automating is key nowadays, and that is what is going to allow us to work faster, and that is our recommendation. That's why with Genexus 18, we help to automate each of the steps in the production process. You're automating all the life cycle of a solution, and we have updated our tools to make this so and get the most out of nowadays technologies to the fullest. Specifically, we have updated Genexus Server for teamwork and the management of the different versions and productions of line, and GX Test to automate those tests, both unitary tests and user tests. Plus, we have also worked in integrating other managers such as Azure DevOps. Today, you can integrate your development to an Azure DevOps pipe. And for this, we have provided you with documentation and needless to say code that will show you how to do this. So in every single aspect, we have worked so that you can automate every single step that can be automated. Each step in the delivery of a solution. We have worked about the construction of a solution and how we're going to build it, but how are we going to make that evolve? How are we going to evolve the different requirements? How are we going to evolve the architectures, the experiences with which I will be developing the solution? Plus, we will have a technological evolution. I would like to keep what is modern today also modern and updated in the future. And this is a main pillar of Genexus. What we are proposing is to develop like this, to model knowledge, and from knowledge, pure knowledge, generate modern solutions. Based on the very same knowledge, you can generate modern solutions today that will remain modern for tomorrow. And that is what being future-proof is. It takes care of your investments today in knowledge to make those solutions modern over time. Dear friends, let me tell you about one last pillar of Genexus 18, and that is super apps. Perhaps this is a requirement that you haven't had so far, but we are absolutely convinced that in the short term, you will be facing knowledge and a lot of businesses around super apps. And the things that users nowadays need millions of services, and they may be using millions of services, but there is only so many apps that they can have in their devices. That is why we thought about these aspects of why not solve from one app millions of services. If you have one app with a financial institution that is working out your payments, it has your user identity and you can make your payments through that app. Why not extend that user experience that you get from that app? Why couldn't you, through this app, maybe make a booking at your hair salon? And once you've done that, you can also work the payment through the application. Now, of course, I did not think about this before everybody else. This is a trend in many markets. Building super apps and thinking about the future of new businesses and all the implications that this could entail. So in an app, I'm going to be able to offer millions of services. In one app, I will be able to load millions of mini apps, and this is a huge challenge. For those of you that are engineers, you will quickly realize that you will have to consider things such as architecture, security, privacy, aspects that are extremely relevant and complex to solve. And that is the great value that we can add from Genexus. With Genexus 18, you will be able to generate 100% of a super app. The whole of the components that are required to have a super app solution, and this is absolutely native. It will also allow you to turn an existing application into a super app with our technology. So to build a super app, Genexus 18 is the fastest way to have it up and running. With Genexus 18, you will be able to generate absolutely modern applications, generating value in record time while remaining future-proof. That is Genexus 18. Now, before I finish this, allow me to invite you to watch more than 20 videos that will tell you more about Genexus 18 and to be part of 15 Ask Me Anything sessions and webinars that we will be sharing with you. Now, yes, I will send you back to Briogan Gonda, co-founder at Genexus. Dear friends, here we are, 5 months after participating in this fantastic event. Back then, we were very enthusiastic about this, but also had a number of concerns because we all want good changes, but when it comes to actually making a change, we tend to be a bit more reluctant. That is part of our human chromosomes. Today, with much more peace of mind and enthusiasm, we know that we have truly chosen Globant. We have chosen the best. We know that Genexus, that fantastic work that we have managed to create that has long surpassed even our most optimistic ideas, has become a reality that deserves to have a global scale. And now it has no limits and it will be global. However, I want to go back to a quote that I've read and heard quite often in the last couple of days. And the quote goes, "And now that everything has been done, what will innovators do?" If anybody even thinks for a second that everything has been already done, they are crazy. And us at Genexus and at Globant feel that everything is done? No, absolutely not. We have done a lot, yes, but it's only the beginning. The future is full of different realizations. Because we want to, but because the world is still full of needs that have not been met. So, with the same attitude as always, let us think that what has been done is actually very little, that we have to do much more. And now I'd like to invite Nicolas to join me here on the stage to close this keynote. Thank you, Briogan, so much. What a pleasure. Dear friends, it's a pleasure to have given you this presentation of Genexus 18. And for the next year, it's a pleasure to announce that we want to do this GX30 in person, which we couldn't do back in 2020. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you face to face next year. Thank you, Bragan. Thank you, Nicolas.